swear, I have never seen it.
Exactly once, and it was really weird because I forgot swords could even be there.
Yeah. Well, we're not going to get sword this time because Uncle's not walking off with it. Just a handful of arrows in our first chest. That's not going to do them much good.
To get the bow, you just automatically get 30 rupees. And real quick map tip here, it looked like blue crystals on Tower of Hera in Eastern and a red pendant on Desert.
Yeah, that's a nice average distribution, with there being 3 pendants and 10 dungeons. I personally like seeing Desert being one of those pendants. It tends to be one of the more locked away by progression items, and we get the hammer out of Uncle.
And I haven't looked at the stats, but I have a feeling that's kind of the most common starts, and because it's like hammer, that gives you the Dark World access. So.
Oh wow, and an early lamp too. That's and a bomb drop? Okay.
Gonna have no problems. Yeah. Yeah, lamp is definitely an item that you like to see early, no matter your skill level. Like, dark rooms just aren't fun, so the sooner you can get that lamp, the easier time you'll have through this seed.
Yeah, it's always a big relief to our runners. While a lot of people do learn the dark rooms, and lamp becomes more of an optional item for them, there's still a handful of rooms that are very difficult to do in the dark, and it's always just a relief to have. Plus, it puts all of those rooms into the game's logic, which can make it easier to follow the seed.
Yeah. Finding a bomb too, so we won't have to worry about any RNG there.
Yep, we'll see if our runners want to farm any more to try to make Kakariko Village a little bit easier, but in the meantime, at least they'll be able to do all of Escape.
Yeah, won't have to worry too much about extra drops. Back of Desert Palace being a pendant as we were talking about earlier. Let's see, because now there's no reason to ever get them.
Yeah, and one of the interesting things with having the lamp is that it actually puts some of those locations a bit more into logic, finding it this early. That they still need other items to be able to actually get to Desert Palace's boss, but they have the lamp for that. It also could potentially signal that they need to do Aga, because you need the lamp logically to climb the tower.
Exactly, though we still need a couple sword upgrades before we have to worry about that, or the cape.
Yes, we do. Toadette elected to use the hammer and pot. It's a little bit slower, but it's also quite a bit safer. Nifboy with 2 nice hammer shots to get the blackguard down.
Out that side.
So both our runners are making good time through Escape. Both on pace for about a little over 6 minutes, which is right where you want to be.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little tripped out by Toadette's screen right now.
Yes, it is always an interesting occurrence when you have Zelda rescuing Zelda. And speaking of which, Chad, if you're curious as to what is happening there, that is one of the beauties of Randomizer. Our wonderful community has created over 100 custom sprites that our runners are able to use. Nifboy is picking an interesting... I have never seen anyone go right here.
Really doesn't matter what direction you go in. I guess everyone just goes left because they just see everyone else going left, but yeah, it's exactly the same amount of time.
Yeah, that's funny. Just never seen that.
And, you know, he got a restream. He wants to show off that one room with the extra guard.
Exactly, and his little bit of game knowledge that it's the exact same either way. So, Toadette into the trolly little snake room. Hammer is not a lot of fun for dealing with these snakes, especially if you have to do up hits. Ooh, but an early flippers. So early flippers puts a whole bunch of other items into location heading up to Zora, and our runners will need to find a bunch of money for that.
They're just a bit shy of that mark right now, but in a little bit, though, they should... I think a while ago when they added the 2 locations in the Waterfall Ferry, which is the location opened up by flippers, they added 2 extra 300 drops, so... good odds that they'll be able to find some extra cash.
Yeah, Standard does tend to be fairly rupee heavy in the early game. But it's certainly not a guarantee. Nifboy elects to pick up some extra safety hearts, can't blame him for that. You don't want to die at the end of Escape.
And really good game knowledge out of Nifboy knowing where those heart pots are.
Exactly. And so we've done our full clear of Escape, and we're going to be getting out of here just a touch after 6 minutes. That's a very nice time from our runners. So the first possible route diversion we'll have is whether or not they head up to Lumberjack Cave. What do you feel? How do you feel about making that check?
I personally don't like to check that cave until I get boots, simply because, you know, either the seed is going to force the Agna to play anyway, or, like, it's an item that you can't even get before you get the boots, so...
Yeah, that's certainly a major train of thought with a lot of our runners. Personally, I like to do it just because of how much time it can save you relative to a fairly small time cost. Especially in a case like this where Toadette doesn't have any bombs, it also gives you a few more chances to farm them before you get to Kekori Village.
Yeah, this route will let you do a couple tree pulls, it'll let you see what the bush crab item is.
Unless you happen to throw a bush at the bush crab, that does not work out so well.
Do you?
Well, she'll still have another chance at pulling that if she wants to. And it's just a bunch of arrows from the Tier 2 tree pull, so not a big loss there either. Though it is nice to have a few arrows in your inventory in case you find an early bow, since finding it out in the world does not give you any arrows.
I think 2 of the chests in Escape were 10 arrow drops, so...
Yeah, they're pretty set. And so we find gloves just laying around in the Lost Woods. Someone's going to be very sad that they dropped those.
Runners are going to be happy to pick those up, because they're one step away from Dark World access.
Yeah, they are. And so Toadette also finds some bombs down our stump hole. So that'll allow her to finish out Kakariko Village without having to buy bombs, and gives her a good chance at finding some more for the rest of the early game checks.
Yeah, and she won't have to make that sort of long detour to the store. She'll be able to just, you know, take out Thieves' Hut and Kakariko Well in just one go here.
Exactly, and with only 25 rupees, it's actually a real pain to route if you don't have bombs, because you're pretty much required to dip down into one of the 4 chest locations to hopefully just find money or bombs. But neither of our runners are going to have to do that, because they have found some nice bomb drops. Nifboy with a few more, as he managed to farm a couple out of Escape.
Better luck out of the prize packs then, Toadette, that's for sure.
Yes. So, a bunch of red rupees, but that bottle's actually quite nice. It'll allow them to almost get everything out of Kakariko Village in one go. It's also nice to have that bee, as it gives you an easy way to do the mini Moldorm's cave. Because I don't know about you, but I hate having to do hammer in there.
Yeah, I don't have a good handle on the hammer hitbox, so bee strats, bomb strats, those are very helpful to know and for that cave.
Exactly. And the short version on the hitbox is there is no good way to do up hits with a hammer. For whatever reason, the way it's coded, up slashes with a hammer are very hard. And we got our first fetch quest item in the mushroom. Oh, wow. So, Cane of Burna, but also the Fire Rod, so we got some nice early items here.
Yeah, that was a very helpful cave, and you also got that 300 rupees, so Zora is very close to being in play here.
Yes, that money scammer certainly is. So an interesting thing about early items that lock things is that they tend, when you find them early, to hide progression. So that could be an indication that our runners are going to have to go into Skull Woods early, or, because they also have flippers, Ice Palace.
Definitely, the way that you want to look at these early items is like the first piece of the puzzle. Like, you know that you're not going to be finding everything in Kakariko Village, so you have to be using those early items as hints on where to go next.
Exactly. Toadette elects to go buy some bombs. That's a good choice. In fact, Nifboy, it would also be arguable for him to go buy them, just to make things a little bit safer for doing the rest of your early game checks. The downside, of course, is it does make it just a little bit harder to get your money for the Zora check. Though with gloves, our runners do have access to Hula Hand.
That's right, now we see Nifboy making that stop at the store.
Yep. So if you were our runners, after doing these last two checks, would you actually go do Hula Hand? That would give them exactly 500 rupees.
Assuming that they know the strat to enter in through the back of escape, or that cave, yeah, I would probably make that play into Hula Hand, just so I would be able to, like, go straight from my house and then just go, like, go to Mini Moldorm Cave and then just hop in the water and do the swims.
Yeah, it's a pretty small... It doesn't take that long, and when you leave, you exit at Link's house, which is right where you want to be. Oh, wow!
Yeah, don't save and quit, Nifboy.
Yeah, that would have been a big mistake, and Toadette's decision to just go and do it saves her a little bit of time. There's our first sword. Well, that's a nice relief. I mean, while technically Hammer is all the weapon you need for quite a while, most runners are much happier to be defending themselves with a sword.
Yeah, having that sword, being able to, like, use that B button, like, that gives you a certain level of comfort. So as the seed advances, you at least have that, like, item to rely on.
Alright, so it looks like Nifboy is going to go do Hula Hand. Save quit to Sanctuary, there's very few other things he could do, unless for some reason he wants to head up Death Mountain for 2 items.
Setting up that war point, which some people will find useful.
Oh yeah, it's a very useful warp point. Now, for those not familiar, Hula Hand works by entering a pit with the camera slightly off-centered. You're able to do it in this one by having a bomb knock you back into the pit when you're standing within a couple pixels of the hole. The other easy location is actually blocked from our runners, as Flippers prevents you from doing it. So Toadette heads off into our Mini Moldorm Cave, and it looks like she's going to use bomb strats.
Reasonable enough if you don't want to, like, sword can be a little bit slow, and, you know, if you're using your bombs right, you can just, like, you know, kind of throw them in to kill other Moldorms with the sword.
Yeah, once you practice that bomb stuff, it can be pretty easy. So Bombos is our first medallion, and Hookshot. Hookshot is a huge item for our runners to find. That actually puts them with the ability to fully do... Well, there's 1 or 2 items they can't get, but they can do Death Mountain now.
World areas, they can get their first crystal from Tower of Hera. So I'd imagine that once we're done with the Ice Pod Cave and and maybe she goes to the Zora area before she gets her 500 rupees, but that's probably where they're going to go next.
Yeah, I like going up there as well. While the Eastern Palace area has either 5 or 6 items, depending upon Eastern Palace's layout. You don't really... If you can avoid double dipping Eastern Palace, just do it. Nifboy pulls out the fire rod to avoid dying to the mini Moldorms, but he'll get a little bit of health back here. But he is going to have to be careful if he decides to head up to Ice Rod Cave. One hit from a crab will instantly kill him. But instead, it looks like he's going to follow your advice, Welshie, and just head right in.
Looks like, and we see a second bottle on the floating island. A little bit out of the way, but if the runners want some added safety and they find themselves with the mirror, they might go for that.
Yeah, it's hard to turn away free blue goo. And if the run does end up being, or the seed ends up being a little money stingy later on, that's certainly a quick way to save 160 rupees. So you know what's better than 1 bee in a bottle? 2 bees in a bottle.
Excellent. I hope we see some extra bees on Mothula, assuming that that's going to be a crystal the runners have to get.
Yeah, bee strats on Mothula is hilarious.
Fighter sword damage, if I remember correctly?
I believe you are correct on that. So Toadette not having the money to do Zora does elect to save quit, and let's see if she decides to head up Death Mountain. And there she goes, Nifboy throwing fire everywhere, not wanting those crabs to get anywhere near him, and I do not blame him one bit.
It's a bush guard there.
Yeah, that could have trolled him pretty badly.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he does find that Ice Rod Cave was not very helpful, as I think at this point they're sitting on around 25 bomb capacity.
He even got an 8-bomb drop, so he should be fine on bombs for a little while. But yeah, I really respect the fire rod strats over there. You know, it gives you distance, and, you know, you don't want to get up close and personal with those crabs, especially when you're sitting on basically one-hit KO mode at this point.
Exactly. Old Man has more bombs, which is probably a good thing we took those from him. I don't think a man who gets himself lost in dark caves should have high explosives.
Troubling. I'm worried about him.
So we get our first check of Waterfall Cave. Oh, and Nifboy decides to throw his bottle in there to see what the fairy will give back to him.
Check, yeah. Especially when you're sitting on just, you know, green mail and fighter sword. Oh, and that's a very helpful check, yeah.
Yeah, if I'm him, I'm definitely throwing my other bottle in too. If you can get away from the bees.
Oh, geez to the bees, but yeah. Blue pod is a little bit more useful than a couple bees.
Yes, it is. Toadette is checking Paradox Cave. Bow! Wow, that is huge for our runners.
Absolutely, yeah. You definitely want to see that before the 20-minute mark.
Yeah, and that opens up a lot of routing for them. It gives them full access to Eastern Palace, but also when they head over to the Dark World, they'll also be able to full clear pod on their first visit if they elect to.
Yeah, when you see that ball... Oh, go ahead.
Toadette just having a bit of hard time with the mini troll dorms, but does remember that she has the hook shot, which makes quick work of them.
If you let it get away from you, it can be kind of tough to manage.
Yes, but we find the mirror as well, so Paradox Cave has an abundance of riches. Whereas Zora is, of course, the great scammer.
Yeah, Death Mountain coming through, and yeah, so once they get their Dark World access, they'll have full access to both Pod and Swamp Palace. So once they get that Moon Pearl, they're definitely going to be hoping that they see that Swamp Palace and Potter crystals.
Oh, Toadette takes a death. 1 heart with those little hoppers. Real tricky thing. But she just picks herself right back up and is gonna head back into Death Mountain. It's not too big of a time loss.
She checked Spectacle Rock, or the cave under Spectacle Rock yet, so that might actually be pretty decent routing for her, actually.
Yeah, that's actually an excellent point. In fact, with Mir, she probably should be going up to Spectacle Rock, as she did not the first time. But instead, she is going to just head back over this way to do Spiral. Meanwhile, Nifboy is getting our first check of a hut. Yes.
I mean, that's pretty much how you pronounce it.
As far as I'm concerned, it is. And he gets Master Sword, and I like this immediate save quit from him, knowing what we do.
Knows he has all Death Mountain open, no reason to double dip Eastern at this point. He is going to be a little bit bummed that he couldn't pair Zahasrila with the Eastern Palace once he finds that bow, but yeah, no one's going to complain about a Master Sword, though.
Yeah, it's a pretty small time loss to just walk over to the hut versus coming back in the Dark World with Mir. And he actually, when he initially left Link's house heading over there, he did a save quit right before he went up, or he did a pause right before he went up the bridge, and I think he actually realized that. He was like, oh shoot, I should have gone up Death Mountain. But I do like that he correctly decided to stick with the play. One of the worst things you can do in Randomizer is waffle between decisions.
Exactly, yeah. Once you know that you want to do something, you want to commit to that decision as soon as you can.
And we have an early Cane of Samaria in Tower of Hera. My goodness.
Look at that.
Yeah, we don't even have Dark World access yet, but we have most of the progression items required, regardless of what crystals we end up with.
We're going to be spending a little bit more time looking for some of those items, but we have a pretty decent item set before we've even gotten our first crystal.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see what our Dark World crystals are. The early Fire Rod potentially points at something like Skull Woods or Turtle Rock, and the early Cane could maybe mean Mire. But at the same time, we also have logical access to Swamp Palace. And Pod. In fact, unless I'm missing something here, I think the only Dark World dungeon we can't do, assuming Medallion access, is Ice Palace.
That is correct, yeah, we still need the mitts for that. Having some trouble with the big chest there.
Oh, and chat points out that someone actually did talk to Shalasa. So we know that Mire is...
Because now we have the possibility that we may have a fluteless bootless seed.
Yes. Now, flute is no longer required by logic unless there's something hiding off in Mire. So Nifboy's finding his bow, and I'm sure he's happy about that. Meanwhile, Toadette is making her way quickly up Tower of Hera. Did you catch if she'd already found both items?
Don't believe she did, yeah, because I know that she was going for that big chest, so unless there was something in there.
So we still could have the possibility of our runners having to head down into the basement. Oh no, we have map and compass missing, so that she has found both items. Assuming she checked the lower entryway chest, which she had to have because Cane was in. Yes. So yeah, we're all done with Tower of Hera here. And nice quick work with the hammer.
The hammer to take care of that boss, which is a lot better than trying to do 6 hits with the fighter sword.
Oh yeah, that's absolutely miserable. One of the big reasons hammer is so useful is that it does tempered sword damage. It just has an absolutely atrocious hitbox. So Nifboy now making his way over to Tower of Hera as well. So our runners are going to be very close to each other and have basically identical items at this point. Master Sword for Nifboy, but there's a good chance Toadette will be over to Eastern Palace fairly quickly, now having both bow and lamp.
Exactly, yeah. Unless they find the Moon Pearl in Spiral Cave, I would imagine that Eastern Palace is going to be the next stop. Cave here, which is, without boots, this is one of the slowest locations in the game to check.
Yeah, it's absolutely miserable. Now, I do wish that when Toadette was briefly in the Dark World there, that if she had checked the map, that can be pretty important information, knowing where the rest of our pendants are.
Being able to try to route in your next crystal, that's always very helpful.
Yeah, and especially with stuff like, for instance, if you know that Thieves' Town is a crystal, with the items our runners have, you could then head straight to Pod instead of heading over that way as your first Dark World check. Or vice versa, if Pod ends up being a crystal or a pendant.
Yeah, Thieves' Town pendant is nothing you really want to see just because that dungeon is so quick.
Yes, it is definitely one of the worst.
There are items that will all be available to the runner with the item that they currently have once they get the Moon Pearl, so being able to take care of that like as soon as you can is...
Yeah, it's certainly ideal. Now, one thing though, with the items that our runners have, it is... Okay, where did you pick up the ice rod? What did I miss? Oh, is that in Spiral Cave? Okay.
Must have been the item, yeah.
Jeez!
You can confirm Turtle Rock pendant.
Yeah, pretty much. And Nifboy unfortunately gets trolled by everyone's favorite troll dorm, and is gonna have to do the boss again.
Is low-key one of the worst dungeons in the game. There's a lot of really simple stuff that can cost you a lot of time if you mess it up, so... Yeah, Moldorm's not one of the easier boss fights to kind of get good at, and there we go again.
Yeah, I have a particular hatred for this. Most of the time, for Tower of Terror, most of the time it all just goes smoothly, but when it goes bad, it goes very, very bad. Multiple holes that'll drop you down 2 floors, and Troll Dorm just not being a fun fight if he doesn't agree with you.
Exactly, and...
So Toadette makes the correct decision and is heading over to the Eastern Palace area. And there's a good chance we'll find progression over here, as there's not many locations left to our runners after this.
I think after this, Toadette will just have the Zora area and Agena left, and Nifboy would pretty much just have Agena once he goes back to Eastern Palace.
Yep, and as Nifboy did check the Zora area, we already know that does not have our progression. So either it's going to be sitting over in Agena, or we might find something like, say, the book, and put our runners into Desert Palace.
And something I would be a little worried about at this point, and we have the lamp. We know we've all seen Moon Pearl on the Pyramid Ledge, so I wouldn't be too worried about that with everything I've left to check, but it's in the back of my mind.
Yeah, Moon Pearl actually being on Pyramid would be pretty much par for what I'd expect the Sword of Seed to do. Typically, version 29 likes to go through periods of drought and plenty, and it's already given our runners a bunch of plenty, so it's got to hide something in an out-of-the-way awful location.
Every seed has to have that one item, and it might as well be the Moon Pearl, right?
Exactly. I mean, we already got rid of the other perennial favorite, the Ice Rod.
We have the bow. It has to be the Moon Pearl.
Yeah, it really does. There's only a handful of locations left, 2 in Desert, or in Eastern Palace, 1 in Agina's Cave, and then Pyramid. Otherwise, we've seen all of them. The runners, of course, don't know this, as they have not checked the same locations yet.
They will be going over each other's footsteps as we see an nifboy making his way back to the eastern area to collect that second crystal.
Yep, and it's going to feel pretty good to have 2 crystals and all this progression done at probably sub 35 minutes.
Get those crystals out of the way really quickly, simply because, like, you know, crystals are the main progression item. Our goal in this seed is to get all 7 crystals and beat Ganon, so yeah.
Yep. Of course, it is always the Light World dungeons are of course the easier and quicker ones, but it's still good to get them done, regardless of whether or not they have progression. And we're hoping there's progression in here.
For the Ruby room in the other corner of that dark room there, she's a little shy of Zora, but there is a 100 rupee drop in the waterfall cave, so she'll at least get bailed out by that if she decides to head to that area next.
Yes, and also, even if not knowing that, the Zoras also have a fairly good chance of dropping blue rupees. It's a slow farm, but it's certainly something that could be done if she doesn't want to do Hula Hand. Yep, Toadette not quite getting the 1 cycle on the red Igors. If you're real...
Oh, go ahead.
If you're real fast in the movement, though, it's capable of doing that. And as you were saying.
And I'm also being reminded that we do have the mushroom, so mushroom is also another location that they have to check.
That's right, we have not been over to the mushroom yet. And that is not a fun location to check without the flute. There's no quick way to head up there. Oh, Toadette has a pretty good Armos Knights fight. Almost had it down very well. Just missed the quick kill, but nearly trapped the last one in the corner. Unfortunately, got a little bit of ways, but
yeah, very nice work out of that side of the screen. Much of anything out of Eastern aside from that crystal.
Yeah, so where does she go now? Of the remaining checks, where do you think she go? Do you favor doing like mushroom, or do you want to head over to desert?
I check Agina just to get that out of the way. I don't want to go all the way over to, like, if I've already done Zora, then I wouldn't want to go all the way over to mushroom for just the 1 item. And Toadette, remember, he doesn't have the Moon Pearl.
Yes. So, with her electing to not save and quit, I kind of think she's going to go do mushroom.
I think the Witch's Hut would be roughly equidistant from the would-be saving and quitting from Sanctuary, so yeah, I like this routing.
Yep, and the one advantage to walking, I think you save... if she hadn't gone down, I think she saves a screen transition from save quitting to Link's house. But either way, we are going to get our mushroom check. And while that's happening, nifboy is very nearly onto his Armos fight. Mushroom is just a little piece of heart. So, there's actually one other interesting thing that our runners could do, and one of the reasons why you'd want to save quit before doing the mushroom. With Canis, Samari, and Hammer, they can actually do fake powder.
That's right, yeah. Yeah, and they have both rods, and they also have the Cane of Burno, so it would be relatively easy to just, like, drain all the magic and head on over to Kakariko Village, but maybe these runners also want to stay on sequence, so yeah, I can respect how to play.
Yep. Either way, it's too late for Toadette to do so. But that is one of the reasons why you will see people save quit before they go do the mushroom, so they can do a soft reset, which gives them back the mushroom. Alright, so where is Nifboy going to go now? We know Witch's Hut isn't the answer, but will he decide to go check it as well? No, we are going to get a Gina's Cave.
Exactly, so we are going to find out in relatively short order whether or not Aghanim is required for Moon Pearl.
Oh, please let that be so. Just please. We've gotten so much progression. This. Toadette finishes up her Zora check, and let's see where she decides to go now. I'm curious what she's doing at Sanctuary. Nifboy finds just a piece of heart on the ledge, and all of the desert creatures are trying to murder him.
I think those, like, sand monster creatures, I think they do 1 heart of damage, so yeah, it's kind of a rough area to traverse, especially without boots like you're supposed to have when you come to this area.
Yes. Toadette seems a little lost right now. I'm curious where she's planning to go.
She might have been trying to sell one of her bees to the bottle vendor. Can't be... Yeah, you never want to go into Dark World with, like, that rupee count. Oh, and...
Yeah, well, it does look like she has decided that Aga is the play. Which is very unfortunate, because Nifboy has the Moon Pearl in Agina's Cave.
Thieves Town is our last pendant.
Yep, and our 5 and 6 crystals are Swamp Palace and Turtle Rock. So this is actually really unfortunate for Toadette. This check up here onto doing Aga's Tower is not at all required. And with the items they have, it's not required either for East Death World. Dark World, not Death World. Though for some players, it certainly can be a Death World.
It's entirely possible that she just didn't want to take the time to go to Agina's Cave, and she thought that, like, she'd be getting that 1 minute time save, but yeah, it's kind of unfortunate.
It definitely is. So Nifboy, Hype Cave doesn't have a whole lot, but it does have one of the medallions, which increases the chance that our runners will be able to just head into Death. I keep wanting to say Death. Turtle Rock.
If they find the Quake medallion, this could be one of those rare seeds where it's a Mitsuko mode.
Yeah, it could be. And I will say, Turtle Rock with green mail is very much a death place. Yeah,
both players probably hope for like a mail upgrade or another sword.
Yes,
sometime soon.
I would definitely want blue mail in their shoes. Heading into the Dark World with green mail, while they do have a pretty reasonable number of hearts, is never a good feeling, especially with the typical first dungeon you do, Thieves Town, which is relatively easy in green mail, being a pendant. Yeah, so while we know Toadette going up Aga's Tower isn't the correct play, it's certainly a very reasonable play. When you only have one Light World location left, it's not too big of a gamble to say, hey, it's possibly on Pyramid. So Nifboy has elected that the first thing he's going to do is do Swamp Palace. How do you feel about that?
I think I'm okay with it. You know, the seed gave you all the items for Swamp Palace pretty early, and that's a good item to find before you do Palace of Darkness.
Yes, it is. I personally would like doing that harder to go mode. You can't skip as many chests on the way the keys are typically distributed. Whereas Swamp Palace is one of, if not the fastest dungeons to do in go mode, relative to its full clear.
You definitely want to skip the left side if you can, especially if you don't have especially when you don't have boots, but it also gives you a lot of items, so I can respect this play, and, you know, paid off with those early silvers.
Yes, it did. Yeah. Our runners are... It's always a big relief for runners to find that, because while Spin Ganon isn't too hard, Silverless Ganon, if you've practiced it, is not something you just want to come into suddenly having to do.
Silverless is no one's idea of a fun time. Like, it's 24 silverless spins, and that's 24 opportunities to, like, for something to go wrong, so...
Exactly. Yeah, Master Sword Silverless is... Oh, that's a horrible, horrible thing to do to any runner.
Yeah.
So Toadette made her way up Aga's Tower without much hassle at all, doing a good job of using the items available to her. And Aga, though, is being a little trolly with the blue balls. But gets it down.
Relatively quick fight, but unfortunately not a lot of progression is going to be happening here.
Yeah, but we will find out what's on Pyramid, and it is the myth!
Oh.
Wow! That's incredible. So depending upon how long it takes nifboy to head over to Pyramid, doing, Aga might not be that big of a time loss. Toadette forgetting that she needs to use the mirror to get back to the light world here. And she's figured it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so normally when you save and quit in the Dark World, you will have the option of the standard 3 light world areas. But once you've killed Aga, save quitting in the Dark World will just put you back on top of the pyramid.
So she's gonna be a little bit less able to, like, warp around the world efficiently, especially since this seed is probably gonna be fluteless, given the way things are going.
Yeah, it seems very likely of that, though it's not too big of a deal to mirror after doing a Dark World dungeon and then save quit if you need to. You just have to remember that that's what you have to do. So nifboy did elect to do the full left side check, and not knowing where gloves are, and there is technically still one medallion missing. It's certainly a very defendable play.
Exactly, yeah.
So Toadette does correctly read the logic and remembers that Agnin's cave is the location to go for the Moon Pearl. So she's actually in a very interesting spot right now. Once she picks this up, she is in what we like to call, I believe it's no mode. She is in go mode, assuming Turtle Rock is one of the medallions that our runners have.
I would imagine that her first stop is probably going to be back to Death Mountain just to, like, check that medallion.
Yeah, if I was her, I would 100% head up Death Mountain right now.
So it seems she's slightly paralyzed by all the choices that she has available to her right now.
Yes, Toadette went from having one chest location available to her to almost every single one in the game. But instead it looks like she's considering heading over to maybe the Village of Outcast Thieves Town area. But I definitely agree. Heading up to Death Mountain right now and getting that check, because knowing whether or not you can just... If Bombos is required for Turtle Rock, she gets to go mode 5 crystal dungeons.
That would be that'd be pretty cool, especially like the way the seed has gone. Like giving you all those items early, like you'd be pretty excited to be able to go on those dungeons. Though I'd assume that she'd still be checking a few extra chests here and there, hoping to find a sword.
Yes, I don't think you ever want to be in the position of doing something like Ganon's Tower in green mail with 9 hearts. That doesn't sound like a fun time.
It would not be, yeah.
There are some runners that are capable of doing that, but it's not even the NMG crowd does that. They pick up tempered.
Like, I think it's like a minute 30 to get tempered in the NMG run, but it saves a lot more than that. Like, you can kind of see this boss fight where nifboy has to use 2 splashes to kill these. They are killed with 1 splash with tempered, and like, that's a lot of the time save right there from tempered sword.
And Toadette finds blue mail in our... Actually, I don't know the name of that hut. It's the chicken hut in the light, or it's the bomb hut in the light world.
Bomb hut, yeah.
So that's an excellent thing for her. Oh no! Nifboy! Oh, that's huge. So Nifboy taking a very unfortunate death. Unfortunately, he lost the script for that fight. While he does have silvers, which do enable a one-hit kill on the boss, if you miss them, it's usually safer to just do a spin slash and then reset, especially if you're getting low on health.
Would have been a little bit safer to just go for the Master Sword spins there, rather than it can be a little bit tricky to nail down where Argus is going with the silver arrows, yeah.
And unfortunately for him, we know the boss has the big key, so he's actually going to have to come back in here. Well, actually, no, the boss may not have it. It's possible that it is locked in the chest. But we'll find out in just a little bit as he goes for round 2 with the boss.
I learned that the water stays drained.
Yes, and that's a very good thing. Toadette takes an unfortunate death, but not a huge time loss for her. It looks like she might be heading over to the pod area now.
You choose to route down and go to Hype Cave. Yeah, she has the entire world available to her at this point.
Instead, I think she's heading to Catfish. While I do like checking Catfish at some point, because oftentimes it can hide progression and it's awful to check, with the amount of locations that are open to her, this just does not seem like the most efficient use of your routing.
I guess I would have to agree with that. It's a one-off location, one of the most out-of-the-way locations in the game. Want that peace of mind.
Yep, yeah, I think we're still both in agreement. Meanwhile, Nifboy is only at... and he's about to enter phase 2. And this time he just elects to do spins.
Exactly, taking the boss a little bit safer.
And gets it down. So good job by Nifboy. Takes an unfortunate death, but gets right back at it, and gets the boss the second time.
And we may see another dip in the swamp just to get that big key chest out of the way.
Yep, I was not able to keep count of the items, but I'm assuming there's still one in there. So it'll be very interesting to see what Rowdy Nifboy elects to take after finishing up Swamp Palace. Does he decide to stay in the Dark World and just walk over to Pod? If he stops by Pyramid, that'll be huge for him, as we know it's where Titansmiths are. But there's a lot of other locations he could check.
Exactly, yeah, and I know he got the shovel out of Swamp Palace, and he does have the mirror, so that'd be a relatively easy location to check right now.
Yep, he could get all of that South Dark World stuff done in one go, which is always a nice bit of batching. Hey, look at that! Triple B.
And Toadette still doesn't have any money there.
Oh no. Toadette, there's a kind of important thing that you're forgetting. So Toadette, unfortunately forgetting that you actually need money to pay the scam monkey. You cannot just threaten him with your sword.
Exactly, and getting some rude text from that monkey. I don't appreciate that snark.
I do not either. Alright, so where is she going to go now? Meanwhile, nifboy is making that South Dark World and the couple of Light World locations check, which is an excellent bit of routing with what he knows.
And he gets half magic off of Stumpy, though he may have been thinking about doing the magic that sequence breaking Kakariko, and that's going to be a little bit of a time sink now if that's something that he really wants to do.
Yep, a little bit, though Kane does still drain it pretty quickly. Oh wow, Tempered Sword in Cave 45. That's a huge find for a runner.
So, assuming he goes to Village of Outcasts after this, he'll get his blue mail, and, you know, with the silvers, half magic, he should be pretty set at that point.
Yep, with 11 hearts, I would be very comfortable with finishing the rest of the seed, assuming that you're going to find a couple more along the way. So Toadette has done her Hype Cave check now, and will either potentially head into Swamp Palace, though she could also do the rest of South Dark World. And speaking of those hearts, nifboy just found one in the digging game.
That was a two-dig digging game, so yeah, pretty quick check right there.
Yeah, that's some very, very good luck. Toadette, I believe, is heading to our island to grab that blue bottle. No, the flying bomb guys tried to get her. She should be fine. Nifboy's setting up for fake powder. Fire Rod makes that very quick. I forgot about that. That's the other good way to do this. And Toadette is heading into Ice Palace. I gotta say, this is a tough one, because if she doesn't go mode this, and go mode is, they already are in go mode, that's a very big time loss.
Yeah.
It's also a little interesting to do, knowing that if she doesn't realize how close she is to go mode, she still has both pod and between 5 and 6 respectively, compared to Ice Palace's 3.
Those are a little bit shorter dungeons. They're also relatively easier dungeons if you don't have that sword upgrade like nifboy has.
Yes, Cold Stare is not a fun fight to do with Master, especially without half magic. Though if you do keep the plot or the script for the fight, you can get it down with Fire Rod without too much issue. So nifboy's decided that he wants to... Pretty solid choice. While it's only 2 chests, it's once again not a very easy... And he has all of the stuff required to get it done very quickly.
Exactly, there's only 2 items in here, but it's a very quick dungeon, and it's one of the crystals. Yeah, so it shouldn't be too long of a check for him right here.
Yep, yeah, nifboy's been doing a very good job of routing with what he knows. Unfortunately for him, we know he needs to be heading over to Pyramid. So we'll see if Toadette elects to do the bomb jump here, and she is setting up for it. Now, with the items that she has, if she is going to full clear, it is actually faster to not do this bomb jump. However, a lot of runners who have practiced and learned the bomb jump just end up doing it by default as a muscle memory thing. And there are a few other ways that you're able to use that to optimize your pathing through Turtle Rock or Ice Palace.
Exactly. Muscle memory is a very powerful force, and if you find something that like works for you, you probably want to go with that. Oh, and Nifboy, remembering he doesn't have magic to kind of cheese this a little bit, but they don't despawn like that one just did.
Yep. Hopefully the other one's still there.
Yeah.
There we go.
Programmed in the early 90s, and it shows from time to time.
Yes, it does. Bug net. You think we're going to see any use of that item?
If we ever find the magic powder, we might, or if they're feeling confident in their Alga 2 game, then maybe, but probably not too much.
Yes. Nice job by Nifboy, knowing the full magics there and then using the hand to get out quickly. Though he did have the mirror, so it's not that much of a time save. Alright, I am glad to see that Toadette at least has headed straight to Cold Stare, just checking the couple of chests that are on her way.
Yeah, at this point she may be gambling again that on the 2 in 3 chance that she is in go mode and that Quake is in the medallion for Turtle Rock.
Yep, it's certainly a gamble to be doing this prior to checking Turtle Rock, but if it pays off, that'll be very good for her. Alright, good start to the Cold Stare fight. Gets a number of slashes on them in the corner before they're able to get out. And now getting some good hits in with the Fire Rod. She does have to be careful. Those 5 hearts can evaporate if Cold Stares start giving her hugs.
She gets one of the puffs down. Just 2 more to go here.
2 down. Nifboy actually does an interesting thing there in that he waits for the hand before dropping down. This is because the hand can actually grab you in midair. And Toadette gets her Cold Stare fight down. Excellent job.
Talk about, the randomizer uses the Japanese 1.0 version of this game because that has a couple glitches that make the game faster, like fake flippers and, what Nifboy was trying to avoid there was another one of those glitches where you can still get hit by enemies even while you're in the fall animation, so that's one of the downsides using the 1.0 cart.
Yes. And Nifboy demonstrating the power of Tempered Sword, making quick work of Mothula. That fight is so much easier with that sword.
Moth can go down pretty quickly.
Alright, Toadette, Death Mountain, Death Mountain. Oh! Instead, I think she's going to head to Swamp Palace. Which, again, if she goes modes it, is great. In fact, actually, if she does decide to go mode Swamp Palace, that could very much indicate an interesting thought process going through her head right now. She is almost assuredly assuming she's behind due to having done Aga. As we know, she's not as far behind as she thinks because Nifboy has not found Mitts, so that could potentially gain all that time back. But she might just be gambling that she actually has access to Turtle Rock, is in go mode, and wants to do Turtle Rock as her last dungeon.
Absolutely. Just go mode. She may be in go mode aside from, another 70 rupees for Kiki. But if she completely decides to go mode Swamp, she's gonna miss out on the silver, so hopefully she checks this first chest here.
Yeah, if she does a similar thing to what she did in Ice Palace, checking the couple of chests on her way, I'm hoping that includes that first chest, because that is the one we need for silvers. Because if she doesn't find silvers, this could actually be very difficult for her, as it's not likely that she'll make it over to Cave 45, which is where we found Tempered. And she does elect to go in there. Excellent.
Alright, yeah, that's good for her, yeah.
So at worst, she will have to do Master Sword Silver Ganon, which is still a lot easier. It also makes a number of fights just much simpler. Not so much with what we have in Logic right now, but climbing Ganon's tower is certainly simpler.
Nifboy opting to completely skip the Village of Outcasts area, so he's gonna miss the blue mail, but hopefully that's not something he feels he needs.
Yeah, with 14 hearts, it's not as big of a deal right now. I mean, by the time he gets to Turtle Rock and Ice Palace, it might be, but the other dungeons, like Pod, with 14 hearts and green mail, is not that big of a deal. But he is electing to go do Catfish. We'll see if he save quits here, or if he decides to head down to do Pod and potentially check Pyramid in the same go. Well, Toadette is electing to at least check some of the front chests. This would be one that a lot of runners would skip if they're just doing a partial check. But instead she might be deciding she's going to do everything except the left side, which is also still a pretty fast way to get through Swamp Palace.
Exactly, yeah, that chest isn't too far out of the way, and like knowing the amount of time that Tempered saves over Master Sword, I can respect taking the like extra 15 seconds or whatever to grab that chest.
Definitely. So nifboy is making his way down from Catfish. Let's see if he does stop at Pyramid. And he's headed that way.
We may see an immediate save and quit once he gets these Titan's Mitts, just to go back up the mountain and confirm what that Turtle Rock medallion is.
Yep. Yeah, the play that we've been wanting Toadette to make in doing that. At this point, we're pretty much under the assumption that she is just going with the idea that she's in go mode, and if it doesn't, well, the Aga play cost her the race. Which is a pretty reasonable decision to make. Nifboy, though, now with finding these Titan's Mitts, yeah. I mean, you're right next to Pod, you just kind of want to walk over, but it really doesn't cost you that much time to save quit there versus checking Death Mountain and finding Turtle Rock, because he probably isn't thinking he's behind, or if he does, not by much.
Going to Swamp before Pyramid, as he did, he may be thinking, oh wow, I may have checked left side Swamp for no reason. This might be really bad for me.
Potentially. And actually that is true. He did die in there, and that could also make him feeling behind. So it could be both our runners are just making the assumption they have access to Turtle Rock and are in go mode.
It does take a little bit of time to make that second climb up Death Mountain just to check that one thing. So if Nifboy does decide to go mode, it's Pod and Ice that he has left before Turtle Rock. Stand that play.
Yep. Whereas for Toadette, she still needs to head over to Skull Woods and do Pod also. Electing to do sword spins and doing a very good job of just doing the little sidestep and smacking him in the face. Very clean fight for her.
Good.
So with the way our runners are routing right now, you know what would be really fun? Ganon's key on the torch.
Be pretty fun right there.
Unless our runners then could potentially have to go into Ganon's tower and then go find Boots.
1 in 22 chance, or I guess a 1 in 22 chance multiplied by the 1 in 3 chance that actually in Go mode.
Yes, it's certainly not a high possibility chance, but when we're having almost 256 matches a week, you get to see a lot of strange stuff in Randomizer.
And boy, did check the so this seed, getting quick map check out of nifboy, but this seed, at least once before, a pendant mire with the flute and Ganon's Tower be require Ganon's Tower double dip.
Oh, I love the way you think. That is the sort of thing that we live to commentate and watch. And the thing as runners we absolutely never want to see. But so Toadette is making her way up to Skull Woods. Still hasn't managed to find our 4th unknown sword upgrade, and she's not gonna overhear as we've seen all the stuff she's likely to check. So it could still be here in Pod. nifboy has a number of chests to check still. There's also a reasonable chance it's hiding up in Ganon's Tower. But at the same...
Oh, the randomizer does like to put extra swords in Ganon's Tower, yeah.
Yep, due to the way the logic works, only the Fighter Sword and Master Sword are considered required items. Tempered and Butter are both considered nice items, and that affects the way that they are put into the pool of items. The first 2 are seeded as required, so you will find them before the end of the game. The others can be blocked behind just random stuff or thrown into the Ganon's Tower pool.
Yeah.
In fact, though, earlier this week, I actually almost commentated a seed that our runners entered Ganon Tower with Fighter Sword, and one of the last chests actually had Master.
That's always a rough one to see.
Yep. It worked out for them because Ganon's key was like 21 and the sword was in 17 or something, so they both found it. So Toadette heading straight to the boss, not bothering with anything. And nifboy mirroring right out.
Taking that chance that he's in Go mode too.
Yep, it certainly seems it. So, ladies and gentlemen, both of our runners are assuming they are in Go mode. Based on their play. Are they in Go mode? We don't know. No one's been up to Turtle Rock yet, and at this point, no one is going to be until it's their last dungeon.
What we need for Turtle Rock.
Yeah, this is super exciting. So the hilarious thing that could happen is if both of our runners are doing this, get there and discover they don't have the medallion. That'll lead to some very interesting routing, as both of our runners are going to feel horribly behind at that point.
Absolutely. Luckily for them, Go mode and Pod didn't really matter because they just have those 2 items in Dark Maze, so that might be the last play that they would make, but they would kind of feel that skipping all the chests in Ice Palace may have been that mistake.
Yep, Toadette, both runners are going to leave chests in Ice Palace. Toadette left chests in Skull Woods and Swamp Palace. And none of our runners aren't going to dip into any of the pendants. So this is going to be a very interesting race. So Toadette is making her way over there to Pod. She should be entering about the same time nifboy gets onto his Helmasaur fight. And she still doesn't have enough money. This is actually really unfortunate. Please go ahead.
It is super unfortunate. Yeah. Yeah, there is a cave right by Agina that has 50 rupees. If she wants to, she can walk all the way back into Eastern Palace to get to that rupee room in the back corner, but yeah.
Yeah, I can't think of any good location over here to farm rupees.
Have we had any reason to see the stun prize at all this seed?
No, we have not. Our runners could... Toadette does have the option to just start stunning these guys and hitting them to see if the stun prizes are rupees. But unfortunately, I'm not sure if she's remembered. She keeps killing enemies, so I think she knows she's low, but... So Nifboy finishes up his Helmasaur fight, and Toadette goes to farm some rupees inside of Eastern Palace.
You do what you gotta do.
Unfortunately, now she actually needs more rupees because she paid the monkey to follow her, so she needs 110 rupees in total.
Enough in that back room there.
Yeah, I'm curious where she's going here. If she's just trying to kill enemies, or she's hoping the skeleton room will have some.
I really like this running from Nifboy here. He knows that if he saves and quits to Link's house to get to Ice Palace, he's gonna come out of Link's house without full health, so he's taking this extra walk, but he's gonna be going into Ice Palace with full health, which is definitely something that you want to have going into this very tough dungeon. So yeah, that's...
Yeah, absolutely excellent point. That's a very good decision from him. 14 hearts, or 15 hearts now, is quite a lot, but he still only has green mail, as he has not found the blue mail that we know about in Village of Outcasts.
A while until he goes there.
Ah, I see it. Toadette remembering that there is this dark room that has a bunch of blue rupees in it. I completely forgot that existed.
One of those things that you don't really see all that often, but it is nice to have in the back of your mind.
Yep, it is a very... Having a deep knowledge of this seed, while most of the time won't matter, can really pay off in certain cases.
It paid off for Nifboy, like knowing that the fairies give you free bottles, knowing about how to get to Ice Palace pretty efficiently from Palace of Darkness. Yeah, it's really helped him out, especially in this seed.
Yep, and even other things, just like understanding how the prize packs work with tree poles or with enemies, and the stun packs.
Yeah, exactly. We didn't see that pay off a ton in the early game, but yeah, in other seeds, that'll get you set up with like bombs and rubies pretty quickly.
Yep. So Toadette is heading into Pod. We know the big key is in the top left chest of the Dark Maze, so she's got a little ways to go before she gets there. Meanwhile, Nifboy is rushing his way through Ice Palace. And this will be his 6th crystal. Remembers that he does need to bomb jump. Let's see if he can get this first try. Second, oh dear. Yeah, this is one of those things that happens with this bomb setup. If you miss it the first time, you kind of rush doing your next ones, and it's pretty easy to just walk right off the ledge.
And absolutely, and this isn't a very easy bomb jump to learn. Like, it's very precise. You have to set yourself on exactly the right pixel, so he does eventually get it, so that's very good. But yeah, it is a jump that can give people trouble.
Yeah, there are there's 2 different pixel lines you can do. And there's a couple other ways walking through the door with sword slashes that you can set yourself up to always get into the right spot. But it definitely takes practice, and you have to have done a little bit of research to find that stuff out.
Even if it takes him a couple extra tries, it's still much faster than clearing this dungeon the intended way.
Definitely. Because you need, with their setup, you only need one key, and the big key, but those can be anywhere. So while we have a couple minutes here, as our runners are checking things we've already seen, I want to give a quick shout out to the two people who make this possible, our runners Nifboy and Toadette x Mushina. Please, if you've enjoyed this race and it has been super entertaining, go ahead and give them a follow. It means a lot to our runners, especially with all the effort they put into for entertaining us, because without them, none of us would have a reason to be here.
I second that. They've been giving us a very entertaining race so far.
Alright, so Nifboy is onto his cold stare fight. Toadette is heading into the back of Pod. Let's see if Nifboy can get him in the corner. Well, he did get the slash, but not quite right. However, he's making quick work of them with his tempered sword. Oh dear. Nifboy.
Pretty close here. Oh, there he goes. All right.
Good decision to switch to the fire rod, and Nifboy clutches out the cold stare fight.
Interesting thing. So Nifboy did check a couple extra chests just to make sure that he finds that quick down before he goes to Death Mountain. And he got 2 items out of Ice Palace, so returning to Ice Palace may not be something that they would feel like they have to do.
Yep, so Nifboy is heading up to Turtle Rock, so we are about to find out if our runners are actually in go mode, as they've assumed for, well, in Toadette's case, for over 20 minutes. Nifboy having a fun time with everyone's favorite enemy, the Rock Gorons. And so Toadette found the big key, but is electing to check the last couple of locations in the Dark Maze. So what is in the big key chest? Just a piece of heart. And she's going to be off to her Helmasaur fight. This is a very close race with both of our runners. Nifboy is going to be doing this check about the time Toadette gets down towards the basement of Pod. Now, even if this ends up being the wrong medallion, they do have a couple quick checks in Death Mountain, but let's see what it is. And with it being Bombos, ladies and gentlemen, at 1 hour and 17 minutes, we are officially in go mode, which confirms what our runners have thought for a while now.
Pending boots needed for Ganon's Tower Big Key.
Yes, we did. Ganon's Tower could still troll us, but in the meantime, we're good to go. So Nifboy does have a couple-minute lead here, but that is something that can definitely be made up in Ganon's Tower. Depending upon how our runners decide to go left or right, as well as just execution getting through the gauntlet, that lead can easily be made up. And a potential major issue for Nifboy is he does not have the blue mail. He's still in green. How would you feel if you had to go through Turtle Rock and Ganon's Tower with 15 hearts but only green mail?
Feeling great. I would really like that extra security as I make the climb, through the rock and through the tower, just because I don't want to have to think about, the damage that I'm taking. Or how many hearts you have. Green mail isn't fun. This game is assuming that you have a defense upgrade in these later dungeons. Upgrade really helps because these enemies that we're coming up on do a ton of damage.
Yes, they do. Yeah, I would also feel a lot more comfortable if I had powder, but that is not something either runner has found.
Still have that mushroom if he feels that he needs to, but that would take a little bit to set up.
Yes, it would. Alright, Toadette is about to finish her Helmasaur fight. One silver arrow will do it, if he stops moving. And there it goes.
And nifboy is officially in go mode.
Yeah, it gets through the chain chomp room with a little bit of annoyance. Yeah, oh no! Nifboy takes an unfortunate death.
Exactly. That's exactly why you want to have the blue mail for some of these later dungeons.
Exactly. That's going to eat up a lot of the time that he had over Toadette. Though she still has to go through the annoyance of actually getting the save quit into Death Mountain. It looks like Toadette might want to go get some bottles filled first, which is, especially without powder, is a very reasonable play and can make the rest of the game quite a bit safer.
And Master Sword Trinex is a very hard fight, especially if you're not comfortable with the hammer strats.
Yes, it is. So with nifboy already having the big key, he can steal a key here from the Pokey. Let's see if he remembers to. And he does. Good job. Or he still wants to check for items, I guess.
I'll upgrade still.
Yep, he could just be hunting for a mail upgrade, and that's very reasonable. So the reason he could steal the key there is with having the big key, that chest is either going to be something unimportant for completing the dungeon, or it'll just be another small key. So stealing that small key can potentially let you skip a laser bridge, depending upon how the keys are set up through the dungeon. Though our runners do have with Cane of Burna and Half Magic for Nifboy, checking laser bridge is pretty easy. Good choice by him to use a blue potion there. He's almost going to head outside and can save, and that would count as a respawn point. But dying in that past room would force him to redo the whole dungeon all over again.
Exactly, and we have Toadette coming up on Turtle Rock here, so that's... I think it's about, like, half 2 minutes behind she is?
Roughly.
Yeah, so dying in that room would have been really rough. It would have brought them pretty close together.
Yeah, now, it is very interesting that... So Toadette is doing a couple checks because she does not have Tempered. So that's the big difference between our runners right now. One has Tempered but green mail, and the other has Master Sword and blue mail. And honestly, I'd rather be the runner with Master Sword and blue mail. Silver arrows can make Ganon's tower relatively easy for getting through the gauntlet, and alleviate some of the advantages that Tempered Sword give you. And while Spin Ganon is obviously no fun, it's still better, I think, than doing it with Tempered and Green Mail.
Definitely options for, damaging enemies in Ganon's tower. Yeah, just having that little bit of extra security is going to make you feel a lot more comfortable as you're playing the Seed.
Yep, so Nifboy does have to check Laser Bridge, so let's see what he finds. And the key's in the very first chest. But he does elect to keep checking, once again, really hoping he can find that mail upgrade. However, Laser Bridge is not going to cooperate. So instead, he will take the safety. If you're not sure about your ability to do Trinex, taking the brief time to open that is a huge time saver. Because if you die, you'll respawn down there instead of back at our entrance.
So Trinex is a boss where the longer the fight goes on, the harder it becomes to like predict his movements. So if you let that fight get out of control, it's very good to have that door open so that you can get back to him really quickly.
Definitely. If the right head manages to get some ice down, suddenly your arena's a lot smaller to move around in. But with Tempered, it's going to be 5 slashes per head. And he gets the fast kill on the right head, or left head. Gets the left one down, but he only has 1 heart left. Oh no!
Yeah.
Nifboy was just in range of that head. It was very close. So he will have to do his Trinex fight again. But while this is happening, Toadette's having a hard time with this first Pokey. And she's actually at very low health for doing chain chomps. So instead she elects to take the safe and somewhat slower route to make sure she can actually open that chest. Oh dear.
Oof.
Okay, at least she got the chest, and she does get out with a single half heart. If you're going to die in that room, at least get the chest open.
Looks like that may have been an intentional death just to get a health refill as she goes to the later part of the dungeon.
Yeah, it's certainly a gamble. It does cost you time, but on the other hand, trying to keep going and dying is even worse. So this time, the head does get some ice down, but Nifboy has a lot more health to work with. And he gets it down.
Nice second attempt from Nifboy.
Alright, so with that, I think it's time we play a little game. Nifboy, do you know what Walshy, do you know what I'm talking about?
I think I do. Does it have anything to do with counting chests in Ganon's Tower?
It certainly does. Would you like to explain this to our audience?
So there are 22 locations in Ganon's Tower where the Ganon's Tower Big Key can be. Get your guesses into chat on where this guess will be, and if you guess correctly and you're a sub to or a supporter of any of the speed gaming networks, we'll give you a shout out on stream and you'll get to be on our leaderboard. You'll have internet immortality, which is one of the best things to have, quite frankly.
So, where do you think that big key is going to be?
The go with it is 19. Just because it's the highest available prime number. So it's a quality number that I enjoy.
Yeah, I like going about halfway through, so 14 for me. So Nifboy does elect to do right side first. Gets through the torch room without too much of a problem, and we'll be able to check the torch.
in boots, that room is kind of a breeze.
No big key for the left side, so we're gonna have to head down, or the right side rather, so we'll be having to head on over to the left.
That quick key replacement, and he's gonna be heading over to the torch.
Yep, and unfortunately because they found boots, Torch being Trolley's dead. Toadette also likes to take the emergency exit.
No half magic. Yeah, you gotta take that door.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, another thing to note that without half magic, Trinex does not have a lot of room for error with your rods. You don't have much magic to spare.
Kind of have to play the fight close to perfectly to kind of make it out of there.
Yes, you do. And there is the big key for Nif. Let's see here.
It's 11, if I was counting correctly.
Yep, would agree with you. I think that's 11. All right. So, Nifboy is now heading up the gauntlet as Toadette is just hunting for that last small key to be able to head over to Trinex.
And shout out to Silk Soldier for being the closest sub or supporter of the Speed Gaming family of networks to get a key location. Very nice job, Silk Soldier.
Alright, so Nifboy's done a good job so far of getting through this gauntlet, and still has a good amount of health on him. He's got some tough rooms coming up. And Toadette is heading over to her Trinex fight. So Toadette could save some time in Ganon's Tower if she elects to go left side first. But she still has a lot of time to make up.
Yeah, yep.
And let's not forget that she is having to do hammer strats for Trinex. Oh, that's a very low amount of magic.
Hello, magic, you got ice on the floor. This is a rough time right now.
Yeah, unless she has a blue pot, she does not have enough to be able to finish this fight.
Yeah, she did grab the one that was on Hylia Island, so...
Well, that is a big relief for her. Nifboy all the way on to his Landmost 2 fight. Unfortunately, being hit by that rock messes up the timing and only gets one head down on round 1.
At least since we never had to go to Desert Palace, this was Landmo 1.
Well, for our runners, yes.
But yeah, commonly referred to as Landmo 2.
Alright. He does get it down with just a little bit of trouble. That fireball spitter, it is amazing at how much more difficult it makes that fight.
The fireballs. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Toadette has the first head down, but she's down to only 2 hearts. And not much magic. And she's now out of magic. Does she have another potion? She has a green potion. Can she get this down? There is ice on a lot of the room right now.
Her to pull this off. Come on, Toadette, you got this.
Should just be 1 or 2 more hits to get that head down.
That head's got to be close to done at this point.
Alright, both heads are down. Can she get through the final phase without taking a hit? Because anyone will kill her. So far, good hammer strats. Oh no, she got into the ice! And Trinix claims another victim. That is super unfortunate for Toadette.
But one heck of a go right there.
Yep, she's now used up all of her potions, so she's going to have to do this fight now almost perfectly. And Nifboy gets his revenge on Trolldorm. No falls for him this time. So just this last room for Nifboy, and then he will be on to his Aga 2.
A little bit of difficulty with the mini helmets there, but that can go super well like 9 out of 10 times, and the 10th time you spend like half a minute there just trying to get on the conveyors.
Exactly, if you get off in that, it's real awkward. Nifboy starts off with a 2. And a 1. Some early blue balls from Aga. Quite a few blue balls. But a very nice triple to finish the fight out with 3 hearts.
Absolutely, very nice fight from Nifboy here.
Toadette takes another death to Trinix. It looks like that one she just elected to get hit by. But she's going right back to it.
Probably the only thing you feel you can do at this moment is just try to get this boss down.
Yeah, it can be really frustrating when you get stuck on Trinix. He's not an easy boss, especially not without having Tempered Sword. Nifboy just walks into Ganon.
Oh no, not getting the safety fairy.
Yeah, I assume he just wanted his health reset. It's not a lot of health with Greenmail. Ganon does a ton of damage. Goes for the double spin, but does not quite. And there you are, folks. This is why Greenmail's hard. Nifboy bumps into Ganon and dies in 1 hit.
Seems slightly less intentional.
Yes, I do not believe that one was intentional. But as you pointed out, Walshy, a runner could head down to the bottom of Pyramid and bonk a tree that drops a fairy, which would give him enough health to take a single body from Ganon.
Blue potion now.
Alright, Kane of Brian strats to hit Ganon. That's certainly one.
Invincibility. It does lag the game a whole bunch, but it's as slow as this is, taking another death would be a lot slower.
Yep, and we are into phase 3. 2 more slashes, and then we're on to phase 4. With 4 silvers, we'll finish the fight. Alright, Toadette gets all the heads down again. Can she get Trinix this time?
You got this. Come on.
Ganon refusing to cooperate with those last 2 hits and teleporting everywhere. Toadette veering dangerously close to that ice patch. But she gets it down.
Great work.
Yeah, excellent perseverance, taking some frustrating deaths, but still getting back in there to finish it. So Nifboy is now onto the silvers part. Did not get Torch Glitch, but with half magic, it's certainly not needed.
Rod, silver arrows. Torch Glitch isn't... You want it, but it's not that important for the kill.
Yep. You just have to be careful about getting too close to the edge here. And with that, Nifboy takes down Ganon. An excellent fight from him with a very difficult setup with Greenmail.
I'll work from him, and he's walking through the door with an official speed racing TV time of 1:39.
Yeah, that is absolutely fantastic. Sub 140?
Very good time. The C gave you a lot of items very early, but given the way that he had to navigate it with the green mail, yeah, that's very good. That's very cool.
All right, and we will try to get nifboy in here for interview. And here he is, nifboy. GG.
Oh, GG.
Congratulations on that sub 140 run. That was fantastic. How are you feeling?
Oh, it could have been better if I had just gone north from Hype Cave.
I guess the first question is, how nervous were you about the Quake requirement? Or protection requirement?
I feel like when the C gives you 2 medallions, it's not a 66% chance because Quake can be behind T-Rock, so it's like more like a 75% chance, so I wasn't too worried.
Well, it certainly paid off for you. Because, yeah, if that had been the wrong medallion, because Toadette also made the same decision as you to just assume she had access, there would have been some very interesting routing trying to check all the chests you guys missed.
I feel like T-Rock access is very often in Super Bunny Cave, and if it's not in Super Bunny Cave, it's in Hookshot Cave. And if it's not in Hookshot Cave, it's in Spike Cave. And if it's not in Spike Cave, then the seed is already too interesting.
Wait.
So, jumping all the way back to the beginning, you guys started off with Blue Cane. Is that something you enjoy doing, or...?
Nah,
Not a big deal?
not really.
So you guys also found a whole lot of progression items early. You had Fire Rod super early, Hookshot and Bow were in Eastern Palace, and you found quite a bit of additional equipment. How are you feeling with all that?
My attitude is that once I got Dark World access from the Moon Pearl and Agina's cave, my attitude is I get to Dark World, I look at the map, I look at all the crystal dungeons, and I'm like, there's nothing in any of these places.
Well, it certainly paid off for you. So you decided to go into Swamp Palace as your first dungeon. What made you decide that that was the place to go for right off the bat in the Dark World?
It's harder to route in, I think. Going from Hype Cave to Swamp Palace just felt like, yeah, okay, I'm here-ish. And I don't have the boots and I don't have the flute, so it makes getting around a lot more difficult.
Well, it certainly paid off in you getting silvers.
Even if I completely failed to use them on Argus.
Yes, that was unfortunate. How are you feeling after that death on Argus?
It's the sort of day where you take the safety door on T-Rock and glad you did.
Yes. Yeah, you had a very difficult time not being able to find the blue mail that Toadette did. It was actually hiding in the Village of Outcast bomb hut. So, were you feeling at all worried about the fact that you were having to green mail for the hardest parts of the game?
Not until I hugged Ganon with 8 hearts and immediately died.
Yeah, that's a fun learning experience, isn't it? Yeah, Ganon does not mess around. So, I don't know if you have the restream open, but Toadette is making her way up through the gauntlet right now. Pretty much, you guys were pretty close to each other for a lot of the race. There were 2 big decisions that ended up putting you in the lead. The first one was that she ended up actually doing Aga 1 before checking Agina's cave and getting Moon Pearl. And then this was that she had a little bit of trouble with Trinex here, and it took about 5 deaths, I think, to get through it.
Yeah, that's... Trinex is always... You saw how I did on Trinex. It was not pleasant.
No, and she never found the tempered sword that you did.
She regretted not going immediately north, but because you went to Swamp House and you did the south side checks in Dark World, you got the tempered sword and half magic, which Toadette never made the time to go find.
Oh, half magic. Yeah, that's... In
Yes.
my mind, that's more important for Trinex specifically.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. Hammer isn't too hard, but if you start missing those rods without half magic, you have very little margin of error. So what was the point where you decided that I'm in go mode? Because you were doing some full clears of crystals, then you just all of a sudden switch.
I'm not entirely sure. At some point, I'm just like going through the motions of clearing because I'm not 100% thinking about like, oh, I just need mitts for go mode.
Okay, and that's fair. This seed was very interesting because you guys got mitts, well, or could have had mitts. When Toadette got them, it was about 40 to 50 minutes, somewhere in there. So it can be kind of hard to also think like, oh, I'm already this early in the seed and I'm in go mode? What?
And it was paired with a relatively late Dark World access, so it's like, you don't expect to be one item from go mode when you hit Dark World.
Yeah, it is a very, very weird item distribution. So with this win, you go to 3-3. How are you feeling moving forward?
I feel like if Key Sanity had gone on for another round, this is where I would be.
You also participate in the Key Sanity tournament?
Yeah, I went 3-2. It was... And then I basically took a break, and so my standard mode has been suffering as a result.
Gotcha, but kudos for you for sticking it out, and best of luck in your next week's run as well.
Thank you very much.
So do you have any other thoughts on the seed? Final comments?
Thanks to all of the crew for helping get these restreams out. I always enjoy seeing the races played back after I'm done with them.
Yeah, that is one of the great parts of this tournament. We restream a lot of races. We try to get as many of the roughly 256 matches we have a week. Both because for our audience enjoyment, but also because as a runner, it's just a lot more fun to watch people commentating you.
And 133 is a very low number for me.
Yeah, that is an incredibly low item count.
The Swamp Folk there, yeah.
Also, shoutouts to Waterfall Fairy for giving me 2 blue pots.
Yeah, that was an excellent job of you to do that. It paid off for you quite a bit. All right, but nifboy, once again, GG on your run. We're going to finish commenting out Toadette's here. So thank you for joining us.
Alrighty, thank you.
All right, so Toadette is almost through her gauntlet. Just one more room to go. And she will be on to Aga 2.
Yeah, just trying to nail the timing on this. Hit from the one heart before the Aga fight, so she might have to take a little bit more care in this because that's a long, long way to go.
Yeah, no potions, no nothing. And we know there are blue balls on this fight because the RNG is the same for the 2 runners. Survives the first blue ball. Oh, she's at half a heart. She cannot take another hit. Gets 2 there. She's very close.
All right,
well done
through.
by Toadette. Whew. A clutch half-heart finish. Oh, she's got to be happy about managing. Alright, so I imagine you're going to start with taking a heart refill from giving Ganon a hug. Or she might just head down and get the fairy.
Might also take the time to stop by the witch's hut for maybe a potion.
Yep, with Mira and Boots, it's not that long of a trip. And especially with Master Sword and half magic, or no half magic. Well, she needs some magic. Actually, that's a very good point. She does need some magic. You can't beat Ganon without lighting those torches.
Yeah.
So, in fact, a very good call from her to actually head over there. So this is going to be an interesting Ganon fight. It's pretty rare to see someone having to do Master Sword and Silver. So with one blue pot and a full bar of health, Toadette's going to head on over to her Ganon fight. So now we get to find out if she is practiced with this strategy. Because this is not an easy way to do the fight.
It's not, yeah. And my advice here for anyone that, like, to practice a Master Ganon but might be actually trying to do one is take the fight slow. Don't try to rush things. Play within yourself. Let it come to you.
Exactly. Yeah, there's some... The first phase isn't too bad. You can just kind of take that as slow as you like. You're not... It's pretty hard. You're not going to get hit by the trident too much. But the second and third phase can actually be very dangerous. Third phase on your... Or second phase on your heart and third phase, those bats flying around can very easily just send you right off.
You fight to navigate, and, like, this is a fight that even the best runners have problems with. Like, I don't know if you watched that Zero Rush ACMLM match last week, but that was a match where ACMLM, one of the best players of this game, a couple times. Like, this is a rough fight.
Yes, it is. Yeah, once again, there's a reason the NMG runners actually come in here with Tempered. Even they don't want to do this. Getting some good slashes in there, but she's taken several hits from the trident. She's going to have to be careful here. She'll want to be saving that magic for later in the fight. Unfortunately, using Cane of Brine is not going to work here because she cannot charge a spin while it's active and gets smacked by a trident. Another potential strategy that it might be better instead of having Cane would be to have the hookshot out, and if she looks like she's going to get hit, just fire it off for the invulnerability frames.
Maybe that would be a good strategy to employ in this fight here.
Yeah, typically you'll see runners using that on the second phase to avoid when the flames fly out.
Trident a solid object that the hookshot will actually, like, bounce off of?
I don't know. That's a good question.
I know that, like, doing the one-on-one strat for the NMG fight, like, it involves you kind of, like, using the sword to kind of, like, get a couple extra spins on Ganon.
Yeah, that's a very good question. Unfortunately, as this is not something that comes up that often, I am unaware. Well, Toadette is sticking with it. Though that trident is just homing in on her. And you can see that even with the blue mail, that thing still hits for a lot of damage.
Does, yeah.
Yeah, the developers of this game did not mess around with Ganon. If you do not come in here with the expected items, he will kill you very quickly. Alright, we're on to phase 2. We're going to need 12 more spins here. And this is not an easy phase to be doing with Master Sword.
When misses the hit there, yeah, it's really hard to chain multiple hits in this phase and gets hit by a bat.
Yep, one more hit from anything is going to take her down, and Toadette takes another death. Yeah, this is an incredibly tough fight, folks. This is not something runners ever want to do. Yeah, a possibility she could do is go do Houlihan just to get rupees to buy a few more, or to buy another 2 red potions. Because farming the enemies out here is...
Yeah, those Cyclops dudes take a lot... They take a lot of hits.
Yeah, they're scary. But we will get to answer the question of how many sword beams it takes to get to the center of a Cyclops. Alright, so Toadette is heading right back up and is going on to her 3rd try for Ganon. Let's see if 3rd time is the charm. And Ganon continuing to point out that we have not brought food for him. And I don't know about Ganon, but I'm also getting ready for dinner.
Exactly, yeah.
Good job dodging those first 2 tridents.
Just learning from her previous attempts how to, like, effectively move this trident around the screen, how to effectively dodge it, so at least she's taking mental notes on how to get through this fight without the cape.
Yes. Yeah, a lot of the time you don't spend much time here when you're in Tempered, so you don't really learn the pattern that trident follows. Because it's a weird one.
Yeah, you're usually just standing in the corner and just, like, wailing on Gan with your sword. Like, you never have to, like, adjust for the trident's movements.
Exactly, and even if you get hit once with the trident in phase 1, it's usually not that big of a deal. Alright, so now Toadette is playing Hide from the Fire Bats.
Very friendly with that position.
Oh, gets hit twice by the expanding fire ring. This is why you want to have your hookshot out, and gets hit by another fire bat and takes a death. So it looks like Toadette is going to take a brief break from Ganon and maybe get some more potions or whatnot.
Maybe looking through the overworld to find a sword or 2.
I mean, you certainly could, but there's a lot left to our runners. With the go mode route that she took, or both runners took, there are very, very many locations that have just never been touched. I mean, we see it with Nifboy's item completion. Only 133 items picked up of 216, and Toadette's, when she finishes, is going to be fairly similar. So Toadette making good use of the boots and flying around the overworld. Interesting, that is not a setup for Houlihan that I knew.
I have never seen that before.
Wow. So once again, Houlihan works because you have bonked Link in such a way that you've offset the position. So when the camera's slightly off, the game's like, okay, you get to go into this secret room. And I guess if you do that bonk right up against the screen edge, it works.
Today.
Yep, Toadette is heading on over to the potion shop. She'll be able to buy a couple of potions here. I don't remember if she still has a blue potion. I think she used it already. So she might want to just kill a couple things and see if she can buy a red and a blue potion.
Cape, then magic doesn't really help you out, so the red potion might be a better investment, but she's going for blue.
Yep, and apparently she did have a blue potion already in her inventory, so she has 2 blue potions now. And taking out some frustration on the witch's garden. But we're going to be heading back to... Or we're just going to keep farming for some more rupees. Oh, I think she wants to get a full magic before she heads back into the fight. That makes a lot of sense.
We're not having that flute is rough, because there is that tree in Kakariko that you can bonk to get the magic refill, but that's really far away, and not having the flute, like, we haven't really felt it this seed, but...
Yep. And I don't believe it was this race that we saw any of the prize packs being full magic. Sometimes you can find those with the tree pole, right where she was, just in the screen above where she set up the hula hand.
I think our tree poles were like 1 rupee.
Yeah. But there she goes, back to Hyrule Castle and up the pyramid. With a brief detour to steal another fairy for full health.
In memory that she killed Aghanim, and thus she had that portal to take.
Yes, that is a nice little bit of time save for getting back, excuse me, up here. Yeah, there's some fun stuff you can do with that portal. For instance, you can also bring the big bomb up through that to skip walking around.
Had to get hammer off a pyramid fairy that way.
Well, that feels good.
Yeah.
Alright, 4th time's gonna be the charm for Toadette. And off to a great start, no hits yet. Or no damage taken yet. She has hit Ganon several times.
Best thing that you can see from doing these repeated fights is consistent improvement.
Exactly.
Way better go. So yeah, this is really cool to see.
And she gets a nice 2 double slashes there. So that should put Ganon into the next phase, I believe. Yep, so that's an interesting thing to note right there. If you can get Ganon close enough to the wall, you're able to get both of the spins to hit him, which gives you twice the damage. Interestingly enough, you can actually do that also with, I've seen people can set it up with the Canis Samaria block to prevent you from getting back, or knocked back.
Huh, I don't think I've seen that yet.
Yeah, someone posted it in the Discord.
Sure, I should probably take a look at that at some point.
I believe there was like I don't remember if it required Ganon to have a specific position or not, but it was pretty funny to watch. Alright, making good use of Cane of Burna to not get hit by the fire bats and continuing to get the needed slashes into spins into Ganon.
The Cane of Burna doesn't give you it does negate your ability to hit enemies with spin slashes, but it does give you invincibility. So this is very good use of that Sparkle Cane.
Yes. So we'll see what she elects to do here. She can take at least one more hit from a fire bat before she needs to eat a potion. Nice dodging there, and continuing to get her needed spins in. I keep wanting to say slashes. Oh, that was almost a double.
Very close. All right, we're on phase 3.
Yes, we are. Good time to drink down a potion. So 4 spins here, and we're on to the next phase. So this is a dangerous phase as the floor starts to fall away. And it could be tricky to get those spins in before he spawns a fire bat.
That was really good timing on your part.
All right, 3 down.
The plum, not any fire bats after the initial 2 warp cycles.
All right, she does get hit by fire bats, but she does not get knocked off, and that's the important thing. However, she does miss Torch Glitch. Now, she has Silver, so this is quite a bit easier, but she still needs to hit spins onto Ganon to make him vulnerable.
Yeah, definitely want to get that glitch to make the fight just that much easier.
Yeah, and with no half magic, this is actually a fairly... If she keeps missing slashes, a fairly tight magic, but she gets that one, and let's see if she can get a double.
Does still have a green potion remaining, so she can afford to be a little bit liberal with her magic usage.
That is true.
There.
Oh, Ganon rejects that arrow.
Late there.
There's a good use from her from alternating between the fire rod and the lamp. A nice combination of saving time, but also getting the needed lights in. And I like that when Ganon goes invisible, she's waiting in the middle of the room to ensure she's not going to get knocked off.
Absolutely. Very patient. That's definitely something that you want to do, is like you don't want to force yourself into a situation where Ganon can hit you for no reason.
Exactly. Yep, because those fire bats have some really weird collision properties with Link. And she gets him down. Excellent jump by Toadette to stick with it and get her Ganon kill.
A little bit of doing, but she is through to the Triforce room with an official SRTV time of 2 hours, 8 minutes, 38 seconds. GG, Toadette.
Yes, GG to her, and we'll see if we can get her in here for an interview. And welcome to Toadette, GG, and congratulations on finishing your run.
Thank you very much. That was fun.
Yeah, and I really have to hand it to you for sticking it out and getting done with that very difficult Ganon fight. Master Sword is not enjoyable.
No, it isn't. And you know what? I'm just glad that I beat Aga 2 with half a heart left.
Yes,
Super
that was
clutch, yeah.
impressive.
That was just a little bit clutch.
Yeah, we really enjoyed watching that. You had a lot of very exciting boss fights.
Well, thank you.
So, going back to some early part in the run, you guys got a whole lot of items early on, but that Darkhold axis was eluding you, so you ended up doing Aga 1.
Yeah, and well, my options at that point were Aga 1 or Agnes Cave. I thought I'd chosen okay, and then it's like, wait, no, those don't actually give me anything without Dark World Eyes.
Yeah, but finding Titans there actually ended up being a pretty big thing for you, as your opponent did not head over to Pyramid for quite a while.
Mm.
So, after that Aga 1 fight, I'm guessing you were feeling rather behind?
I wasn't really sure at that point, because when I saw where the mitts are, I knew that I could either be really behind or really ahead, depending on when, if and when they decided to try that. I started to feel behind when I realized I was in go mode and probably had been for 5 minutes and was still putting around for no reason.
Yeah, we were a little concerned when you didn't head right up to Death Mountain after getting your Moon Pearl.
Why would I?
You had Titansmiths, you had Hookshot, and with the items you had, if Turtle Rock was one of the pendants you already had access to, you were in go mode.
True, I could have checked.
Yeah, so
I was like, do I want to go up there and check, or do I want to save the time it's going to take me to check that?
yeah, and as it turned out, you ended up just assuming that anyway, which I thought was a great play from your part for trying to get that routed as efficiently as possible.
Yeah, I mean, I did have a lot of luck with the routing, and I had a lot of luck with some very clutch fights. I'm not exactly the best runner of this game, but, you know, I'm proud of myself for some of those fights. They went well.
No, they definitely were, and you were stuck on Master Sword for a very long time. That does not, and nor did you manage to find half magic. 2 items your opponent managed to find. Tempered was in Cave 45, I believe.
Which one's that?
That is after you check Stumpy and you go to the cave that you get near the mirror.
Okay, the Grove Ledge.
Yes, or Grove Ledge.
Okay. I did none of Dark World. I did like
Season 2.
Yeah, you didn't need to, because you got into go mode really quick, but I skipped a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm. But it ended up being the right decision.
That was a really fast seed, and it would have been faster if I didn't suck again.
Yep. So, your opponent also ended up making the same decision as you to decide, okay, I'm just in go mode, and oh well.
Fair enough.
So, despite your action, but because he ended up full clearing Swamp Palace and also taking a death, despite your Aga 1 play, you two were actually very close for a good portion of the seed.
Yeah. Well, anyway, it is what it is, and that was a really fun race, so I'm happy with it.
Awesome. Well, I'm really glad you enjoyed yourself. We had a lot of fun commentating this.
I'll have to check it out.
Excellent. Any other thoughts about the seed? Final thoughts?
Not really.
Alrighty. Well, Toadette, thank you for joining us, and once again, congratulations on finishing out your...
Thank you. GG.
GG.
And with that, folks, we are going to wrap up this broadcast. So, first off, I want to take the opportunity to thank both of our runners again, nifboy and Toadette. They're the reason that we're able to provide you with this entertainment, so please give both of them a follow. I also want to give a shout out to our tracker, OzGeek, for doing a great job for keeping us all informed as to what's happening. And thanks obviously to Speed Gaming for rehosting this. Walsh V, thank you so much for commentating with me. It was really enjoyable.
Thank you for commentating. This was definitely a fun race to kind of talk about.
Yes, and so if you guys have not gotten enough Randomizer, we still have another number of races coming up today. Let me just get the schedule. Here we are. All right, so having just started about a half hour ago, we have Chair versus Sailor Jade on Speed Gaming 3. That started at 8 p.m. And coming up at 10 p.m. on Speed Gaming 2 is going to be Dr. Bobtastic versus myself. And then the final race of tonight that we have a restream for is going to be just before midnight at 11:59. And that's DatMB versus Lightyear on Speed Gaming. So be sure to keep your eye on those races. But
Definitely a fun lineup. I'll have to check you out.
Thank you very much. Well, I've been Emlyn.
I've been Artie Walsh V.
And thank you everyone for watching. Have a good one.